Hey there, Spooky Squad, and welcome to the channel. Today, what's really out there or what we're capable of. We've got of time travel. We're talking about those weird, unexplained stories that make you question everything you thought you knew about the very fabric of reality. Now, I'm not saying I believe in time travel, but I'm also not saying I don't believe in time travel. It's one of those things, like the universe is massive and constantly expanding, and we're just these tiny little blips existing on a floating rock. So who knows what's really out there or what we're capable of? We've got disappearances, alleged teleportation, and even whispers of top-secret government experiments gone wrong. All that good stuff that keeps you up at night, wondering if maybe, just maybe, time travel is more than just a sci-fi fantasy. So buckle up, buttercups, because things are about to get really weird. And hey, while you're at it, why not hit that like button and subscribe? It helps the algorithm gods smile upon us and brings more weirdness straight to your feed. Imagine this. It's 1954, the height of the Cold War. The world is on edge, everyone's suspicious of everyone else. Then this dude strolls into a Japanese airport like it's no big deal. But he's got a passport from a country that doesn't exist. A place called Taured. This guy's passport was legit, with all the right stamps and visas. Only problem? No one had ever heard of Taured. Naturally, the airport officials are freaking out. They pull him aside, start asking questions, and things get weirder. He claimed his country was between France and Spain, right where Andorra should be. So what do you do with a guy who seems to have materialized from thin air, claiming to be from a country that doesn't exist? The Japanese authorities detained him for questioning. They put him up in a hotel room for the night. 2 guards were posted outside his door, but the next morning, the man was gone, vanished. The room was on a high floor with no balcony, and the window was sealed shut. There's no official documentation of this incident, but the story of the man from Taured has persisted for decades. So what really happened to the man from Taured? Did he ever heard of? Maybe don't dismiss him as crazy. Was he a visitor from a parallel universe where Andorra never existed and Taured reigned supreme? Some believe he experienced a glitch in the Matrix, slipping through from another dimension. Others speculate he might have been a time traveler who ended up in the wrong year. Whatever the explanation, the story of the man from Taured remains one of the most intriguing mysteries. And hey, if you see a guy with a passport from a country you've never heard of, maybe don't dismiss him as crazy. Okay, strap in, because this next one is a doozy. It's invisible to enemy radar. Typical war-toasted top-secret military experiment that allegedly took place in 1943. Now, the official story is that it never happened. The US Navy denies it ever took place, but you know what they say. Where there's smoke, there's probably some weird government experiment involving invisibility and accidental teleportation. The story goes that the Navy was messing around with this technology, right? They wanted to make their warships invisible to enemy radar, typical wartime stuff. And to do this, they supposedly used something called degaussing, which is a real thing, by the way. It involves running electrical currents through a ship's hull to neutralize its magnetic field. But in this case, things went a little sideways. Instead of just making the ship invisible to radar, the experiment allegedly caused the USS Eldridge, the destroyer involved, to become completely invisible to the naked eye. Like poof, gone, vanished into thin air. But it gets weirder because according to witnesses, the vanished altogether. Now, as I said before, the officials teleported, like full-on Star Trek-style teleportation. Some say it reappeared in a different location, miles away, for a brief period before returning to the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. And if that wasn't enough, there were rumors of even stranger side effects. Some sailors claimed to have been fused with the ship's metal during the experiment, while others supposedly suffered severe mental trauma or even vanished altogether. Now, as I said before, the official story is that the Philadelphia experiment never happened. The Navy maintains that the whole thing is a hoax, a fabrication of overactive imaginations. But that hasn't stopped people from speculating, theorizing, and generally freaking out about the possibilities. The story really took off in the 1950s when a dude named Morris K. Jessup, an author and amateur astronomer who was really into UFOs and the like, started receiving letters from a guy claiming to have witnessed the experiment firsthand. This mysterious letter writer who called himself Carlos heavily annotated with handwritten notes in different colored inks. Or maybe even a case of mass hysteria and teleportation, but also some kind of time warp or dimensional rift, which, just your casual everyday science experiment. Jessup initially dismissed Allende as a crackpot, but then things got really weird. The Office of Naval Research contacted Jessup, saying they were interested in his research on the Philadelphia experiment. They even sent him a copy of his own book, which had been heavily annotated with handwritten notes in different colored inks. These notes, which became known as the Varro annotations after one of the alleged authors, seemed to confirm the Philadelphia experiment and hinted at even more bizarre details, like the involvement of Albert Einstein and the possibility of time travel. So, was the Philadelphia experiment real? Did the Navy actually manage to teleport a warship and accidentally stumble upon the secrets of time travel? Or was it all just a bunch of elaborate lies, a Cold War cover-up, or maybe even a case of mass hysteria? Okay, so picture this. It's the year 2000, first thought is, sure buddy, and I'm Britney Spears' backup. Even posted pictures, though they were blurry and mostly just looks the internet. Online forums are like the Wild West. People are figuring out you can use them for more than just arguing about Star Wars. And that's where John Titor pops up like some kind of digital tumbleweed with a really intense backstory. He's on these message boards claiming he's a soldier from the year 2036, sent back on a mission. Of course, everyone's first thought is, sure buddy, and I'm Britney Spears' backup dancer. But then Titor starts dropping details. Not just vague predictions, but specific stuff about how time travel works. The inner workings of his temporal displacement unit, even blueprints. He's throwing around terms like Kerr black holes and worldlings like he's reading off a cereal box. Now, I'm not saying I believe him. In fact, my default setting is skeptic, always. But you gotta admit, Titor was committed. He spent months engaging with people online, answering questions, debating physics. He even posted pictures, though they were blurry and mostly just looked like a guy in a ski mask holding some wires. So, what did this supposed time traveler from 2003 save the future or something? Look, I don't pretend to no goodbye, no dramatic reveal, just a civil war would rip through the US in 2004, followed by a global nuclear conflict in 2015. Yeah, cheery stuff. He described a world ravaged by war where society had fractured and people lived off the grid. He claimed he was sent back to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he needed to debug some old software and save the future or something. Look, I don't pretend to understand the tech stuff, but apparently this specific computer was vital to his mission. The internet, understandably, went wild. Some people ate it up, convinced Titor was the real deal and the end was nigh. Others, well, they had a field day ripping his story apart, pointing out inconsistencies and calling him a fraud. The debate raged on, fueled by Titor's cryptic posts and his eventual disappearance in March 2001. He just vanished as quickly as he'd arrived. No goodbye, no dramatic reveal, just silence. Which, let's be honest, is a pretty boss move if you're trying to build an internet legend. So, was John Titor a time traveler from a war-torn, or maybe, just maybe, he tapped into something real with everyone for kicks? It's been over 2 decades and people are still arguing about it. Some of Titor's predictions, like the Civil War and nuclear apocalypse, obviously didn't pan out, at least not yet. But other things he mentioned, like the rise of social media and the increasing threat of cyber attacks, seem eerily prescient. Maybe he wasn't a time traveler, but just a really good observer of human nature and technological trends. Or maybe, just maybe, he tapped into something real, something we're still grappling to understand. Whatever the truth may be, John Titor's story remains one of the most intriguing and debated mysteries of the internet age. He reminded us that in the vast digital landscape, anyone can be anyone, and the line between reality and fiction can blur faster than you can say temporal displacement unit. And that, my friends, is a story for another time. Alright, let's get into it. 1911. Picture this, like, literally shifts. The air feels different. Named Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain are just vibing in Paris. They're there to study, to soak up the culture, maybe grab a baguette or two. Who am I kidding? They probably weren't even thinking about baguettes. They were too busy being academics. So, these two decide to visit the Palace of Versailles, as academics do. But here's where it gets weird. As they're strolling through the gardens, something shifts, like literally shifts. The air feels different, the sounds are muffled, and suddenly, everyone around them is wearing some seriously outdated clothes. Like Marie Antoinette would have rocked those threads. Moberly and Jourdain, they write it all down in their diaries, convinced they stumbled into some kind of time slip, a glitch in the matrix that sent them back to the days of powdered wigs and guillotines. I mean, they even claim to have seen Marie Antoinette sketching in the garden, looking all melancholy. So after freaking out for a bit, probably finishing their bet, were they actually transported back to the 18th century, right? Maybe it was just a weird dream, a collective hallucination brought on by the heat, too much French wine, who knows? But the thing is, the details. They wrote about specific architectural features that weren't in any guidebooks, things that later turned out to be historically accurate. They even drew sketches of the gardens that matched up perfectly with old plans that weren't publicly available at the time. So, what's the deal? Was it a time slip? Were they actually transported back to the 18th century? Or maybe, and this is just a thought, maybe they stumbled upon some kind of historical reenactment and everyone involved was just really committed to their roles. I'm talking Oscar-worthy performances here. Or, maybe time travel is real and we're all just living in some kind of cosmic simulation. Honestly, after all the weird stuff we've covered, I wouldn't be surprised. The Moberly Jourdain incident. It's one of those stories that makes us a little bit more open to the possibility that ingredients, a creepy location, a healthy dose of historical mystery, and two witnesses who seem totally convinced they experienced something truly bizarre. Was it a genuine time slip, a case of mistaken identity, or just maybe a really elaborate prank? We might never know for sure. But hey, that's the beauty of a good mystery, right? It keeps us guessing, it makes us question what we think we know about the world, and maybe, just maybe, it makes us a little bit more open to the possibility that, out there in the vast expanse of time and space, anything is possible. Even time-traveling gardeners. Alright, buckle up because this next one is straight out of radiation, like some kind of cosmic DVR, a machine that can allegedly see through time itself. They call it the Chronovisor. Now, I'm not saying the Pope is secretly watching gladiatorial combat in his spare time, but I'm not saying it either. According to the rumors, this Chronovisor was built by a team of scientists and physicists, led by this Italian priest, Father Pellegrino Ernetti. Father Ernetti, he claimed that the machine worked by tuning into residual electromagnetic radiation, like some kind of cosmic DVR, allowing them to view past events as if they were happening live. I mean, can you imagine the possibilities? Watching the dinosaurs roam the earth, catching Shakespeare in the act, maybe even finally figuring out who really shot JFK? The possibilities are endless. So, what did they allegedly see with this Chronovisor? Historical events? It's both fascinating and more than a major historical events. I'm talking the crucifixion of Christ, the destruction of Pompeii, even a performance of a lost play by Quintus Ennius, a Roman playwright from way back in the day. He even claimed to have photographs to prove it. Now, these photos, they were pretty blurry, open to interpretation, kind of like those Bigfoot sightings that are always just out of focus, but still the idea that someone could potentially have visual evidence of these historical events, it's both fascinating and more than a little bit terrifying. Imagine the implications. Of course, as with most things time travel related, centuries before Doc Brown even thought about strapping. Some people believe it was a hoax, a story concocted by Father Ernetti for attention or maybe a few extra communion wafers. Others think that maybe, just maybe, there's some truth to it, that somewhere deep within the Vatican archives, hidden behind layers of ancient secrets and probably some really old tapestries, lies a machine capable of unlocking the mysteries of the past. Is the Chronovisor real? Did the Vatican invent time travel centuries before Doc Brown even thought about strapping a flux capacitor to a DeLorean? It's a mystery for the ages, one that we may never fully unravel. Well, there you have it, folks. 5 of the most moments what you think about these time travel tales. From mysterious disappearances to alleged time-bending devices, we've covered it all. Did these events really happen? Are we living in a world where time travel is possible? Or are these stories just elaborate hoaxes and wishful thinking? You decide. But hey, While you're pondering the mysteries of the universe, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more mind-bending content, and let me know in the comments what you think about these time travel tales. Until next time, keep your eyes peeled for any strange occurrences. You never know when you might stumble upon a time traveler or get caught in a temporal anomaly yourself.